as well.
Cool. Thank you. What do you do? Do you like the horns? No.
I throw the thumb in for love.
The thumb. Okay, yeah, love. That's good.
Well, the horns. Again, I'm second generation Italian, so the Malocchio. This is a ba-ba-boom.
Okay, so let's do the ba-da-ba-boom and boom. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I enjoyed it very much.
Well, it's nice to be back on Drum Talk. I understand, like, why do people wear sunglasses and inside, even though we're outside or during interviews? That's because you feel like this on tour. I don't want to look like that. So here we are again, tired again. And you were saying, Philip, you only had a few hours sleep, and now you feel like I feel, right?
We're on the same page, I guess.
We're on the same page, see? Not so easy.
This show is about love.
Okay.
Love of music, drumming, filming. It's a crazy bad wage that I got out from this, but it's a learning thing for me. So it's just about love. What do you do out of your love for things? What are your sacrifices?
Wow. We don't have enough time for me to answer that. There are many on different levels. All I can think of to answer the question is what I'm seeing. I am usually trying to visualize the ending result. Well, where am I going? What are the steps on the way? Because that helps you get through obstacles. So you have to sacrifice desires of the self, things you want but may not be able to have or feel like. Basically, you're trying to escape suffering, yet suffering is the only way you really learn about many things. So it's a real strange existence to really believe that, and I do believe that. So, you sacrifice, I guess, in a band, you work together, and so you have to sacrifice the way you want to hear things or see things. Everyone, all five, I'm not talking about just me. Everyone has to make those sacrifices. Let's say family time. I would like to be around my kids every single day. I can't do that yet. If I don't do this, they don't have the things that they have. So it's this balance, And plus, I don't know who'd want to be around me 24/7 anyway. These poor guys in Dream Theater have to sleep that far from me every single day. Sacrifices. Well, you have to sacrifice things with the diet, because it's too easy out here to become very tired and lazy and just, I don't know what. I mean, the point is to be, I think if I'm going to answer it how I would like, rather than make a big bullet list of things, it would be more like I am trying to keep a picture in my mind on what my objectives in life are and what my goals are and what an ultimate goal might be at the end. So trying to keep that in mind.
So you said your contributions to the new record, it wasn't the most important thing that you maybe had something on the record, but the whole team effort was probably more important feeling to you, I assume.
Well, yeah, it was, and that's why I've always considered myself, and I think the people closest to me consider me more of an athlete, a sports guy that, I ended up playing the drums, but there's a reason for that, because I learned so much from team sports. I mean, you do want to win the game, and I do want to score a couple of goals and make some passes and be in the middle of it. But I want it's a bigger feeling when the team wins and when the line plays together and things like that. So with our efforts as a unit, the reason why that's the most important thing is because it changed the decision-making process. In other words, how you feel about that can calm you. Like, you don't always have to fight for something you see or hear, or feel like you're just being completely ignored. Do you know what I mean? It changes the outcome, and it's like the five people work in different combinations and relationships together at different moments in time. But when that feeling is there, it's easier for the whole team to be unified.
When fans heard that you are playing in the band,
Yeah.
or let's just talk about my ideas, I was like, man, now he's playing there, so probably they will start writing stuff with him because he's a very schooled and talented musician. But it took like, what, 4 records?
9 years, 8.5 years, 8 years, I don't know.
And that's something very odd. So why? Why is that? Or is it too personal?
You know, look, how about this? I was brought up not to go into someone's house and open the refrigerator, okay? So I also, as a drummer, have been asked to be in bands that were not just established, but people in those bands worked very hard to create what I came into. So I have to I have to have perspective and not forget that, you know? So yeah, it took time to be as involved as I was with this, but I also don't want to make it about me, because anyone in the band could say the same thing as far as their contributions. It was equal. It was, I could talk all day about what me I did, but everyone could do that. And so I just want to, you know, put the light on everybody that everyone did that. So it took a long time to, I don't know. It's not for me to answer, because it is what it is.
As drummers, we are not the main songwriters, even though some of us can play piano or guitar. But I think we more have to organize things and be more of not a conductor, not a director, but something similar to this. That's what I try to do when I play with musicians. Is that something for you, or?
Drummers and songwriting? Okay, well, we have to define what songwriting is. What does it mean when someone says, I wrote that song too? What does that even mean, right? For a drummer, what do you mean? That you wrote a riff and you brought it to the band? Okay, then you wrote a piece of music. But drummers can contribute in other ways. For example, melody, that's the only copyrightable thing, right? Like the melody and the lyric. The point is, melody doesn't exist without rhythm, so drummers can provide beats. Let me give you an example. Years ago, when I joined Extreme, I was tooling around with this double hi-hat exercise, where one would open while the other one closed, and the other was open while the other one was closed. And I'd never heard of that before. It could only be done with my setup, so I never saw anything like it. So I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'm stepping on pedals. And Nuno just like, give me the guitar. He yells to his tech and got some kind of phaser or flanger or whatever the heck he stepped on. And he wrote the song, the riff to Leave Me Alone. And then Gary went and got his little thin black briefcase and opened it and like, here I have a song, you know, that he starts singing it, and it was done. It was so fast how it happened. So I was part of that song writing process. I was a credited songwriter because the music notes went on to the rhythm I created, plus the tones and the drums affected the way that the pitches that Nuno used, like the actual thing. So I was given credit for that. Fast forward to Dream Theater Self-Titled, I did things like this, you know, on the drums. But, you know, who's writing the actual song and the notes? It depends. depends. That's like that's the main songwriters. That's their instrument. But the drummer can't just be that. Just like blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? I haven't been able to. Maybe people can. I don't know how. I needed to write music to say, okay, I wrote music here, there. You know, so when I look back at like self-titled and I'm credited for songwriting on many songs, I look and I say, well, what did I actually do for that? You know, like, oh, take a Petrucci riff. Who's gonna write that except for him? Okay, so it's like he's writing that. You know, unless somebody writes it on an instrument, they did not write that. You know, and so I look back and I'm like, I did not write that beginning to. The Enemy Inside or something, but maybe I contributed some feel or something on the drums with the pitches that affected the way the other guys played notes. Does that make any sense?
When you look at the casting video footage, you remember it vividly, I guess, because it was a very important day, I assume.
Casting video. It's like I was on the casting couch.
Yeah, but actually,
yeah,
it was presented like
yes,
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I know
this is why
I have a sense of humor. My mind goes places. Sorry,
it's all fine. So
I see things.
What I loved about each and every auditioner was the reacting to the unprepared stuff, to the improvisational part, and it was an intuitive voice, of course. Do you still have that intuitive mic, or are you Dream Theater mic now?
Let me try to answer what I think you mean, which is being in the band for a length of time has helped me understand the environment better. So, you know, I'm able to recognize patterns more quickly. Not rhythmic patterns, I've always been able to do that. Well, not always. I worked very hard to be able to do that. That's part of the, you know, that audition process is I could tell, you know, things that are like not seen. I could tell when Jordan went to play a run that it was a 13 tuplet and I was able to pick it and play it and finish it with him, which made him stop and ask me how I knew what he did. And I just, you know, I could just tell that it wasn't regular triplets, that it was a little faster, and I could tell it wasn't a 7 tuplet, so it had to have been a 13, and I just rolled the dice, and while it was happening, kind of caught that. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So I've always been, well, I have been able to do that since I trained my pattern recognition to do so, setting out to do so, meaning to do so, and coming up with a system to achieve that. It was very, very well thought out, and it took a long time for me to get there. So now the other things, as far as, you know, knowing what to play or not, or jamming, or being intuitive, or whatever, with the band as a Dream Theater person, yeah, that has developed over time because I consciously am recognizing some different things that occur. But at the same time, I don't know, I just go back to being the person before I joined, and even a younger person. Like if I mimic a drum fill, Jonathan Mover noticed this with me during an interview. He runs Drumhead magazine and plays things, yet another drummer that plays things I can't do, you know, like, oh my God, where do all these people come from? But anyway, he noticed with me that when I do this with my hand when I describe drum fills, and it's true. It's like that, because that's how I really learned, that's what I put all those years in before I switched over to match grip. I played with conventional. And so I've become that person I was, that kid or whoever. So yeah, I've learned about the Dream Theater scenario, but I still am that other person. More so because I put more, I've only been in Dream Theater for however long I've been in now, so I've earned, developed a certain amount for that. It's just like chops, you know, you develop a certain amount over time. I don't know.
I'm a fan of both composing with methods, rules,
yeah,
and obstructions to make it interesting, as well as letting it flow and not think about it too much. Mm-hmm. So now we are talking about the new record.
Yeah.
You said the record was pretty much a home run in less than 3 weeks, composed, 18 days, I guess. So how did that come together, since you're a team of 5? And there needs to be a framework that everyone agrees on to do it like...
That's right.
Now it's just flow. Probably it wasn't like hit the record button and see what happens.
No. Absolutely not. No. We just very easily and very simply were on the same page because we're actually looking at a page. You know, you make it, you write out. I've always been a big fan of making a plan on paper, of seeing structure. You know, with a piece of paper, we're literally looking at the same thing. So we can discuss and we can say, let's make it heavy. Let's make some of the songs short. Let's go crazy, maybe here and here with this amount of time that we have, and you look at it structurally. So it was just like, okay, so what riff should we start with today? And then people would offer riffs, and again, you know, John has been running the show since I joined. He has taken on that responsibility in a very good way by organizing himself. So he had a list of riffs. He had, you know, his phone, and we had our phones, recordings, little clips, and he had lists. You know, like the yellow notepads. I'm sorry, yellow paper with the green lines. It's like we had like eight of those, you know. And he'd just write clip after the name of a clip, and would just name it something we would organize, and he would look at it, and it's like Pale Blue Dot. He's like, Mike, there's a groove you played in a sound check. Here it is, and he had it, and he played it. I'm like, okay, that's 19. He goes, I will play it. Okay, you know. And then all of a sudden people start chiming in. Well, wait a minute. I think it was John maybe. It's like, let's skip that note here. And Jordan says, well, let's do this and let me play these chords and try these things over it. And then my young's over there going, well, hold on a minute. What about, you know, James is singing stuff. All of a sudden you have... you have a whole group of people because there was a decision made, you know, and it was like maybe sometimes when we picked a riff, the same thing did not happen because not everybody was feeling it. But like that was one that everyone immediately gravitated towards and had some ideas about. So again, there's a structure to it. There are the kind of songs that we wanted to write. There's the amount of time that we wanted to play the crazier stuff, the amount of time we wanted to, you know, let's lighten it up here, but only for this much. And you have this structure like that, and then you go at it and say, well, let's see what happens. And then you know, the intuitive stuff kicks in and you don't know what's going to happen next. But you have the direction.
But this time, it sounds very differently to my ears. Mm-hmm. It sounds like very, I don't like the word organic, but was it any different?
All I can do is offer my angle, my ideas of the bluesy ones, the ones that are like heavy and bluesy, you know, or the chords that are at the end of a section and, you know, no, I'm not playing the other instrument, but I did experiment and could offer something like, let's hit a D, and it doesn't belong there, maybe, or can we try that? Just, I would make a face at Johnson. I mean, same thing with Jordan, because they're so quick, you know. I had to learn how to be quick, because those guys are like, fa, 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 and before you know it, there's 14 different ideas going on. Oh, wait, hello. You know, I'm trying to like catch up. So it's just tremendous, you know, and you go with it. Again, I just spoke only from my angle. That the guys, each of the other 4 guys might have a different way to say this and explain this from their angle, but everyone did that in their own way. But that was what I imagined. So I had to like, something's going on, and I had this whole monitor set up and a key behind me, and I would pick the right sound or a guitar sound so that I could sound like guitar if I had to, like make that chord sound heavy. You know what I mean? It was a way to communicate.
A good way to be very creative is being in a different environment. Sometimes it's competition, a healthy, positive competition, and happiness. I mean, when I'm filming and I'm in the crew and there's bad vibes, then I won't be creative.
Well, your mind is occupied being miserable.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. But art can be a perfect catalyst for
Yeah.
misery. So what's your favorite creative bubble or setup?
What comes to mind that I enjoyed so much is I've been wanting to put my drums on a drum riser for recordings. It's because when we play live, I hit the drum and it's like, the tom-toms, I can picture the drum head, doom, you can feel it. It's a whole different thing. The stuff, the plastic, the wood, the metal, it shakes differently. So we had a drum riser in. And that was, I got on the drums and it's like, yeah, wow, this 24-inch bass drum, because I began a long time ago with 24-inch bass drums, It's like, oh yeah. And so that I guess is one favorite because it returned me to, I don't know, what I used to like a long time ago. I felt a lot more comfortable because I was on the platform that I've always wanted to be on. And, we were able to make that work this time. Sometimes buildings don't allow this, you have to go with the flow.
Your contribution to the record, how was your riff finding there? How did it feel to write the riff? For the second song it is, right?
A bunch. I mean,
And a
but
bunch.
little pieces. It's little pieces. You got to understand. I had clips ready, and sometimes they came from a database of riffs, and sometimes it came from me waking up because I was sleeping where the drums were, up above, and so I woke up and had my writing rig, and I would put at least a couple hours in before the band would get there. And I would write something maybe based on where we were going on the next day or whatever. But it took me time because I had to write the keyboards, the bass, the drums, and the guitar so that the idea would be clear. And I didn't sit there, maybe we should do and sing something or mention some of the band's name, because then you're basically copying something from someone else. Oh, let's sound like this band and do this, and then I don't know. I didn't want to do that, although it's natural to do that, because that's all is your catalogs and your things. So you pick from that and say, hey, this kind of a vibe. You mention a band or a particular song or whatever it is, but that's not what I was doing. It was more like, okay, well, let me ignore all of that anyway, because I don't listen to a ton of music, to be honest with you. I watch sports in my spare time, and I practice drums, and then I write riffs. I don't know. I would get up and do that. So it felt great to be able to provide ideas, whether they got used or not, because it made me feel, I learned. It's like, oh, I wonder why that one didn't work at this moment. That's interesting. Okay, I'll just save it. I have like this many of them, and I'll put them out. Why not? The point is that the larger sections are being written by the people that make the music notes. Do you know what I mean? I'm not on a keyboard, I'm not on a bass, and I'm not on a guitar. So in order for me to have contributed a chunk of music, they would have had to have used an entire verse, pre-chorus, and chorus of mine, which I have many of, but that didn't happen in that environment. I just did little pieces or suggested notes and chords or tried little things, and even in the middle of trying to explain it or in the middle of trying it, those guys are so quick, they would pick up on the idea and morph it. That was the nature of it. I mean, at the end of the day, what's gonna happen is we're gonna have let's just say the bass, guitar, and drums are staying on E, okay? Well, then Jordan's gonna be the one to go, wait a minute, let me try these, chords with he uses 11 fingers. Let me try this and this and this, and he'll go through a series, and someone will take a turn doing that too, or maybe, I like those three.
Here's a little thing that goes to your photography thing, the photo art, the Mangini art collection.
Okay.
Because I studied history of arts, so this is why I'm interested in arts.
Okay.
And you had this mathematical approach of presenting yourself or showing what you would do with this idea, with this concept. And that's something I would never have thought of, like the BPM thing. And I'm more of a surrealistic kind of guy. Surrealism?
All I can hear, all in my mind, I think is a serial killer.
No.
Can I leave now?
Yeah,
I'm a drummer. Watch out! I can hit pretty good. I'll get a couple good ones in before you get me.
No, I would never slice an Italian.
That's funny. I like it. So math, symmetry, all that.
Exactly. But surrealists.
Surreal. Oh, Dali.
Surreal. Dali, Salvador Dali,
yes.
André Breton.
Surreal. Oh, I got you.
And all those guys, like dreaming or
forget it. Let's
or
get
weird,
off of that.
Weird stuff. Those artists, on the other hand, invented ways to keep all planning and all thinking outside of the artistic process.
Okay.
So, and that's obviously the total opposite of what you are doing. Do you think there are times when all your knowledge, all that you can, all your head things are in the way of genuine intuition?
Yes, because because I am a being, and we, I'm a person before I'm a drummer, okay? And then I believe also we're something a lot more than the body, because something's making it. It came from someplace, something's making it move, and there's a lot of stuff in between all these quarks and particles, and there's some operating system. There's some operating system making that leaf show up, and it can't be a verb. What's behind that can't be a verb, it's gotta be a noun, it has to. The study of language is beautiful too, I wish I could speak a lot better. But anyway, my point is that, I know I'm a lot more, I know I am more than just that. So I'm trying to identify with feelings and the intuitive thing, but also I'm existing on what I have put in my brain. What is it that I have eaten? What my body is, our bodies are what we eat, good and bad. And our minds are what we consume and what we choose to look at. The mind's a pretty powerful and also dangerous thing. You've got to be careful what goes in there. Studying life is important. And so all of these things it's not just using intuition. It's like, well, I chose to follow some callings. I don't know where that comes from, okay? What's the calling? Looking out at night and like, what is that made of? And just thinking about the math of reality and the physics of reality. And then you start to read about philosophy. And then the beauty about math is that the truth is on paper. You don't have to literally see it or measure it. That's more of empiricism, that you have to see, hear, or feel something. But there are these things like information that it's not tangible. So that empiricism cannot be the way to see life. It's not full. It's not a full thing. So math shows truth on paper. It's right there. And multi-dimensions, all kinds of things. So I love that kind of the academic thing and discipline. I feed my mind in it, so my brain, look at that. I can't, so I know, this is what I feel like if I keep talking. So I am what I put in there. It's a long answer to your question, but it's not just intuition, it's a random, random. Are you kidding me? I'm saying things because of something that I put in there and read and thought, or that's coming to me in some way I don't understand. But there's a reason for it. So no, on the intuition thing, that's just a piece. Using math is what I put in there. So it's part of the unseen process when I don't have to think so much. It's like drumming, where I can't imagine fully thinking of every note, but I am present in my body. I am paying attention. And that whole adage about don't think when you play, how can you not think? My God, if there was one wish I had, it would be to have a switch installed so I could turn myself off from me sometimes and click, bye-bye, can I go somewhere else right now? Whatever is going on in here, I don't like it, or I can't figure something out, or I want to be a lot more than I am, or I want to change something, and like click. Anyway.
Yeah, but this is why all those surrealists were trying to find ways to get there, to the before. Those were academic people, of course.
Yeah.
And they tried to escape from that with drugs or with experiments or whatever.
Yes, yeah, I agree. But at the same time, they are still living organisms that are constantly absorbing information and your love of something. So let's end this. How about how you started it? We'll come full circle. When we love something, the learning experience is more important. And when the learning experience is more important, literally, the hippocampus is a gate in the brain. It opens. It does not open except in two conditions that I'm aware of. I'm no expert here, okay? I only read like 19 or 20 books, not many. Some people do this their whole lives, right? And I'm being kind of funny there. I don't know if I read 19 books. I just like the number. And ignore me. I got a sick sense of humor. So I read a ton of books on it. Anyway.
Only recipes, of course, of making pasta.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So the hippocampus, it opens up into the long-term memory. You either have to love something, or it has to be important to you, or it has to be traumatic. That's why traumas that happen to us in our lives usually yield not so good things, because you can't forget those experiences because they are traumatic, and because they are traumatic, that opens the hippocampus. That information goes into long-term memory, and you become that. So these surrealists, okay, there's still organisms that are absorbing the things that they experienced. So you can't escape it. Even taking drugs, I don't know, I guess it's like if I have a couple of glasses of wine, so I might think a little differently, but I'm still the things I made myself,
It wasn't a suggestion to take drugs now.
I don't know how you escape it. Thank you for listening, fans of Drum Talk. Let's give a hand to Philip for allowing us to hear our fellow drummers' opinions and experiences and things, or fellow musicians, right? So thank you to Philip. That's what I have to say.
Thank you.